What's up guys, Justin Fuller here, and today I'm getting outside of a 2022 Honda CRV Touring all-wheel drive. If you wanted all the bells, all the whistles, and wanted to spend all the money you could on the Honda CRV, this would be the model right behind me. So let's hop on in and go over it and the competition in the market. What's up guys, we should probably talk about what's underneath the hood of this vehicle. So I'm gonna pull you on in and let's talk about this. So you're looking at a 1.5 liter turboed engine. It's putting out 190 horsepower, right? So in a reminder, if you're looking at any of the other CRVs, they're all gonna have the same engine, same transmission, which is a CVT transmission. You notice you've got quite a bit of space back here. So if you needed to run auxiliary lines, to run extra lines for amps, subs, additional lights, light bars, anything like that, know that you've got it. While we're under the hood, I'll just point out, battery terminals are easy to access. Fuse box is sitting right up here. I've got air coming in across here, and then any of my fluids I can easily get to, and then checking my oil as well. Before we leave the front end of this car and move to miles per gallon, I want to talk to you about the engine and how it stacks up to other vehicles on the market, right? So 1.5 liter putting out 190 horsepower. I am gonna throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see how this car stacks up to the competition out there in the market. I want you to take a look at that, and then after we've looked at that, then we're gonna head to miles per gallon and talk a little bit more. So with the ever-increasing price of gas, of course this becomes very important as far as buying an SUV. So this car gets 27 in the city and 32 on the highway, so combined you're looking at 29 miles per gallon. Now that's gonna live across pretty much all of the models. All-wheel drive to two-wheel drive, I think there's gonna be about a mile per gallon difference. I'll throw it up on the screen so you can understand that. And then of course know that there is a hybrid version of this vehicle that you could look into too if you want to save that additional gas mileage, especially in the city. Now, outside of that, I want to talk about a comparison of how this car stacks up miles per gallon wise to other vehicles out there in the market. So I'm going to throw that up on the screen so you can see that and understand a general comparison. So before we do a walk around, I want to go over a trim comparison, right? So we're in a Touring. We're at the very top of the pyramid up here, and I want to talk to you about, hey, if I'm looking to save a couple bucks and I'm willing to give up a couple features, what can I save by dropping down to that EXL model, and how much money am I going to save, and then what items am I gonna give up, right? What am I gonna lose? So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen so you can understand, hey, if I drop down the EXL, how much money am I saving? So you can see that, and then what are those items that I'm giving up? What can I live without or can't live without that will push me up to that Touring? After you've taken a look at that, we're gonna do that walk around. All right guys, so come on in and let's talk about this vehicle. So the first thing I wanna point out is that you're running with a 19-inch alloy wheel on this vehicle. Understand if you drop down, I believe you're gonna give up 1 inch and drop down to, I believe, an 18-inch alloy wheel, but I'll throw it up on the screen so you can understand. Now, as we wrap around, you've got the full LED setup, so LED daytime running lights, headlights, and then down below, you've got your fog lights as well. As we come across, you've got that honeycomb look, which is always nice, but hard to clean. I've got my Honda emblem living back behind here somewhere, which actually is right here. I've got my radar, and then up front, up top, you'll notice that I've got that trapezoid cut out. That's where the camera lives for Honda Sensing. Honda Sensing wise, you've got a few different features here if you're not familiar with Hondas. First, I've got a collision warning and braking system, right? So it'll actually alert me and then apply the brakes to help prevent an accident. Secondarily, I've got a road departure mitigation system. So if I go up the shoulder road, give me an audible alert, shake the wheel, say, hey, wake up, pay attention. And then I've actually got lane keep assist. So I'm driving down the road, I can set up the cameras to pick up the lines in front of me. And if I drift to the left or right, it'll keep me centered in my lane. So safety wise, you got those things going for you. You do have ACE body structure, which is set up with crinkle zones all around the car. Push the engine down and out, push everything out and around. You got 6 airbags to go with that, so 2 front, 2 side, 2 full curtain to run the car with rollover sensors. So a lot going into this car to protect you. Safety wise, it's how they get that 5-star rating, right? On the back, you've got your roof rails running across the top up here. I'll point out, as we wrap the back, you've got these full LEDs, nice and big in the back. Out here, I've got off the key, or I can touch here, and then I've also got the foot kick. I can throw my foot under and be able to pop open the back, as you see here. And then of course, you'll notice I've got badging for the car as well. As we wrap back around the other side, I'll point out that the back half of the car is tinted from the manufacturer. The front 2 windows will be not, just because depending on the state on what they allow tint wise. I will point out that you have blind spot monitoring system in the car, right? So know that you have this as far as safety goes too. And then I've got those turn indicators, and these are breakaway mirrors. So if anybody bumps them, no big deal. They'll knock back into place. but they are heated and they are powered as well. So exterior of the car, that is that. Let's go ahead and talk about the rear end of the car. All right, guys, so chances are if you're looking at a Honda CRV, I'm gonna guess that you either live an active lifestyle, you have a family, or you just need cargo space for your job, right? So this car is actually gonna come into play because one, it sits nice and low, two, it's got a good amount of cargo space. So in the back right here, I've got 39.2 cubic feet of space with the seats folded up. Now, in the back here, of course, I've got this cargo cover, right? If I need to protect that, this does come tinted from the manufacturer, so I have some protection as far as what's living back here. And then I can throw down my seats with a simple pull of a handle, right? Easy enough to do this, and then this piece pops out, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out and throw it out of the way. Now on here, you can see that I've got a lip right now that I can actually make flat. This has been added from the manufacturer, or I should say by the customer. So I'm gonna pull that out as well. Down underneath, I'll point out you do have a spare with your jack, your accessories, all that, in this beautiful funnel that I'll explain here momentarily. Now, right here, I do wanna show you that you can flip this up, and let's see if I can do this one-handed or not, right? And make this flat. So if you want this to be flush because you're going camping and it's starting to rain, and two, it just gets nice and flat. So if you're loading cargo that needs a flat space, know that you've got it. Now with this all the way back, I want to say you're at 75.8 as far as cubic space. Now understand that if you're in the hybrid model, you're going to give up some of that spacing, and I'll throw the hybrid's cargo space with seats up and seats down up on the screen as well. Now while we're back here, I will just point out in the back, you can see kind of that leather trim and wood folk finish along the doors. You can see the leather with the one pocket and of course, no pocket. And then you can see that you do have air vents in the back of this car. Now you'll notice there are speakers in the back, which we'll only get in the second row. I'll talk to that a little bit more, but I just want you to see it. And then I've got a sub sitting back here as well. So before I explain the mystery of this tiny funnel, I want to talk to you about a comparison related to cargo space. So with the seats folded up, you've got 39.2 cubic feet of space. So I'm going to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can understand how does this car stack up to other vehicles out there in the market. I'll also throw that hybrid model up so you can understand, hey, if I'm looking at this and I might go that hybrid, what am I going to lose? Because the hybrid does have less space. Now, after you've taken a look at that, we are going to fold those seats down, and then I want to do that same comparison so you can see how other vehicles out there in the market stack up to this car, because I want to say you're at 75.8. I checked the cheat sheet. Fine, I admit it. So that's where you are if you have the seats folded down. So check that comparison so you can understand how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market, and then of course that hybrid model as well. Now that we've taken a look at that, let's talk about this. What on God's green earth is this thing, right? Is it the tiniest beer bong? Is it a shiwi? Is it a tiny funnel, right? I don't know what it is. Is it for snorkeling? Nobody knows. Well, let me explain what this is. So the first thing you're gonna do is pop that gas. Once you pop that gas, you're gonna come over here and you're gonna open this door and you're gonna see that you don't have a nozzle to take off. Well, if I ran out of gas, how would I hold that open so I could pour gas in it? Well, if you were looking at this piece right here, which nobody does, you would know that you push this piece right down in there, it holds it open, I can pour gas in. The mystery is solved. All right, guys, so at some point you might find yourself in the back end of your vehicle. You can put that together as to why. Or maybe you just got a family with kids and friends and I don't know, all of the other things that go in the back seat of your vehicle. Well, I want to talk to you about leg space and of course, what's back here, right? Is it worth it? So the first thing I want to point out is that you have 40.4 inches of leg space in this car. What does that mean? If you were sitting behind me, who's 6 foot, I've got lots of room, man. I got to get way leaned down to get that space, right? So know that you've got plenty of space to take on a road trip. Now, in the back of the car, I will point out a couple things. I've got perforated leather, which comes down nice and neat here. Of course, I got the flip down with the cup holders. I do have seating for 3, but let's be honest, it wouldn't be comfortable with 3 adults back here. 2 adults, maybe 1 kid, really? Come on. Now, as we move across, you've got the leather here, and then you've got the faux wood finish, and then dark across the tops to prevent glare. As we come across the speaker, you saw the speaker in the back, and the other side of the door. 1 pocket, even if you spend $37,425, you do not get that second pocket. Sorry, kids. You do have air vents in the back, and then I have 2 2.5 amp plugins as far as USBs, and then 2 more up front. Now you'll notice there's something weird here, and that's because this car, I guess the customer has decided to go with the all-season floor mats. Now guys, when it comes to all-season floor mats, if you haven't seen some of my other videos, I've reviewed a couple different floor mats that I've got from Amazon that are pretty darn cheap. And honestly, if I was talking to this customer, I'd have probably said, hey man, I can save you some money and get you a good item. So if you're interested in all-season floor mats for a Honda CRV, I'll throw a link up on the screen and I'll put a link in the description because I've done a couple videos. I can save you a couple bucks buying them, and I am an Amazon affiliate, so know that, right? But I have got to try them out, mess with them, play with them, make sure they fit correctly in the car, things of that nature. So just kind of a side note. Okay, so with that said, I do want to throw a comparison up on the screen so you can see leg space-wise how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. So boom, I'm going to throw that up on the screen so you can see. After you've taken a look at that, we're going to move up into the front row to, of course, talk about space-wise. And then, hey, what's up there? Is it cool? I don't know. Let's check it out. All right, guys, so here we are. We're in the front of the car. We're almost there, right? We've done a lot. So as far as space goes, you have 41.3 inches of leg space. What does that mean? As a number, not really much, but as someone who's 6 foot, it means I've got a hell of a lot of leg space up here that I could use, right? So if you're 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", guys, you're still good. You're a bigger dude, you're gonna be good too. It hugs nice around the side. I'm 250, so just a heads up on that. Now, as far as the seating arrangement goes, let's talk about that. So I've got this perforation coming down the middle. These are heated seats, so know that you can take advantage of that. And then of course, a nice stitching, good look. That same theme, I've got the leather with the wood faux finish and the black across the dash. As you come across the dash, I've got black leather. I've got kind of a gloss finish and then that wood faux finish again. My screen, my shifter is a little bit high, so some guys aren't used to that. They're used to down low, but know that it's living up here. I do have a wireless phone charger living right here that I can use. 2 more USBs that I mentioned, my cup holders, and then my storage. Storage is kind of cool in this car that you can flip it down, you can cover it, you can do a lot of different things. So if you want to live like a purse, a clutch, something in there, you know what you can do it. And then that wood faux finish, this is new. This kind of correlates and lives here as well. And then of course you've got speakers, your door settings. So know that you could set up your memory seating as far as your keys, and then all my normal stuff that you know about, right? So before we go into the dash, start talking about all these different features of this car and then get to that touchscreen, I want to throw you up that leg space comparison so that you can understand the 41.3 inches that this vehicle has. How does it stack up to other vehicles out there in the market, right? So I'm gonna throw that up on the screen so you can take a look at that and really understand, hey, if I'm looking at this, I'm a bigger guy, I got a big family, how does this kind of live? Now, after you've taken a look at that, now we're gonna hop into the dash and start talking about all the different features that kind of live up here with the driver. All right, guys, so we're gonna start you on the left side of the dash and work our way to the right. So the first buttons that you're gonna see here will be all related to Honda sensing and safety, right? So the first one is my collision mitigation braking system, right? So this is always engaged. What this is, I described earlier. If it's looking like I'm gonna rear in another car, it'll give me an audible alert, flash in the dash, and then actually apply the brakes to help prevent the accident. And doing so, it's using that radar down in the front of the dash and that camera that I pointed out to pick up those cars. Right now, above that is your road departure mitigation. So if I'm starting to drive off the shoulder of the road, it'll give me an audible alert and shake the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention. Now, no related to these, you can turn all these features off and you can affect them in different ways, like, hey, I don't want the wheel shake, it kind of intimidates me, or whatever it may be. Know that you can do that. Now, as we come down across, this is my vehicle stability assist, also always on and running unless I turn it off. And that's just essentially working with traction control. In the event that I go into skid, it'll transfer power to whichever wheel is getting better traction to help correct for that skid. And then lastly on here, not related to safety, this is gonna be to open the back hatch of the vehicle. It is powered in this model and the trim below it. Now, as we come up onto the steering wheel, let's talk about a couple different things. I'll jump to the Honda sensing side first, and then we'll come back to kind of the features that live all up in here. So Honda sensing wise, we talked about these outside of the car, but I want to point them out again. With my main button on, you'll see ACC and LKS right there, right? So you see the green lights flashing? Now that stands for adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. Lane keep assist is this button right here. When I engage this button, you will see some dotted lines that look like, you know, the lines on the road. When I am going over 45 miles an hour, and this can now detect those lines on the road, that camera, it is going to pick them up. As it does, now if I drift to left or right, it'll keep me centered. It'll just kind of pull me a little bit to left or right. If you've ever been in a car that pulls, you'll understand, right? Understand though, if you turn your windshield wipers on, it's gonna disengage this feature because, let's be honest, they want you to actively watch the road at that point. Now the other one is adaptive cruise control. All I've gotta do, get up to my speed, press set. Once I press set, my speed will read where it says ACC off, if you can see that there. Once I'm set, then I can select the distance it keeps between me and cars using this button right here. The more boxes that you see up there, the more space it will keep between you and that car in front of you, right? Easy enough to understand. So meaning it's bouncing the radar off the car in front of you. So as it does that, if I want more space, more boxes. When I get out from behind them, if they slow down to 55, my car will slow down to 55. When I get out behind them, it'll take me back up to that designated speed I set for my cruise control. So that's how that works. Now, if you wanted to turn that feature off, no big deal, guys. Just press and hold, and you can move over to classic cruise. Now it's just, you know, set, cancel, resume. You got the plus and minus to change the speed, and then to turn it back on, press and hold, and boom, we're back to ACC mode, right? Very easy. Now over here, you also have a heated steering wheel in this model, so if you happen to live in one of those states that is exceptionally cold, you might want this feature. You can add it after the fact as an accessory, either through Honda or aftermarket, but I wanna say it's like $600-700 because it does require you to take quite a few things off to put it on. Now on the left side over here, know that this is gonna be related to this display screen right here, audio and Bluetooth, right? So up here, I'm gonna have this information button that I can press. When I press this button, it's gonna change between all these different menus. So whether it be GPS, an attention monitor, just kind of keeps track of me if I'm not touching the wheel and the gas and the brake because I'm using all these features. If I wanna kind of check in and see, hey, am I driving an all-wheel drive model right now or in two-wheel drive? Because it will shift when it needs to automatically on its own. If you're not familiar with all-wheel drive, that's kind of the difference between all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will shift between between the two, kind of on its own versus four-wheel drive, where you usually have a shifter that you have to manually control it. So just be aware that's how this works. As you continue to move across, you know, if you want oil, trip, that sort of thing, your oil life, you can get it right here. So very easy to access. Audio, whatever I'm listening to, my Bluetooth, miles per hour to kilometers an hour, and then back over to my trip info, right? So I'm not gonna go too in-depth in those, but understand that's how you get to them, right? And you can just press this button, or you can hit it and then, you know, hit the arrows and move around. Now, Bluetooth-wise, you got to answer a call, say hang up a call, or go back, right? If you've entered a screen you don't want up here. So if I entered that screen, I was like, it's not the screen I want, press that back button and allow me to get out. And then this is gonna be my voice command button, right? So this will work for the standard Bluetooth controls connected up to here, or if you're using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I could press and hold this until I hear the beep for Siri or for OK Google, and then go that route as well if you're an Android user. Now on the other side here, I have my lights, right? So I can turn them to auto, and then I've got my fog light controls down low, and then on the other side, pull up to do your front windshield wipers, and then use the tip of the blinker stalk to control the back. Easy enough to understand. Now, before we go to the touchscreen, I just want to talk about 4 different buttons right here in the shifter. So electronic parking brake, just put your foot on the brake, lift it to set it. When you do, you'll see an indicator come on down here in the corner, which you can kind of see, and then to release it, right, easy enough. My idle start stop, so this is always on and running unless I turn it off every single time I start the car. And what that is it means when I come up to a stoplight, it'll simply turn the engine off but leave the electronics and the AC on, right? So it's just a gas mileage saver. Now below that is the econ button, which is also a gas mileage saver. If I engage this button, what it's gonna do is it's gonna affect the shifting points of the car and how much the AC works, and your accelerator pedal to help improve gas mileage of the car. So where you're at 27 in the city and 32 right now, it might push you past that number, but in doing so, you're gonna give up some of that, you know, that oomph that the gas pedal has, right? So understand how that works. When it's engaged, you'll see that leaf come on there, so right on and off, and it'll tell you right there. So easy enough to understand. Now brake hold, I had to put my seatbelt on real quick to show you how this works. I'm gonna shift the car into drive, right? So now I'm in drive, and I'm gonna press the brake hold button. When I do, you're gonna see 2 buttons appear where it's gonna say brake hold, and then the actual physical button that's holding it. Now with it holding, I can release my foot from the brake. I'm not touching anything, the car's in drive, right? When I touch the gas, it will then release that button, I start to move forward, and then when I press it and come to a stop again, boom, the hold button comes back on, I can release my foot. Now, what is this feature for? This feature is really convenience, guys. This is more for stop and go traffic, maybe I'm in a drive-through line, that sort of thing, just to make life a little bit easier to where I'm not just using up my right leg. That's really all this is, but understand you have to have your seatbelt on to use it. If the car is in drive and you take your seatbelt off, what will it do? Well, immediately it recognizes it and it engages the parking brake so that you don't roll forward into the car in front of you. So just be aware of that, and then it tells you, hey, I've engaged the parking brake. So I'm gonna go ahead and release all of those items. All right, guys, so here we are on the touchscreen of the vehicle, and I wanna walk you through just a few different features, understand some settings, and then I wanna talk to you about, hey, if I like what I see, can I upgrade it? What are some changes and different things I can do? So the first thing I want to point out is this car does come with navigation built in. So great, you're getting something that's provided to you already. You know, that's awesome, but a lot of us are going to use Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, whatever we're used to through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. But know that you have something already available to you. As far as activating your phone, you can just connect it up via Bluetooth. I think all of us understand how to do that at this point. Pretty easy to do. If you've never hit that button before, you've never connected a phone, when you do, it'll prompt you to add it. You're going to have some quick speed dials right here. You can jump into your call history that lives right there, and then you can jump into your phone book that will exist once that screen pops up, which I don't want you looking at a bunch of my contacts because I know about you guys. Now, under that, you've got your settings here. Now, settings, there's a couple things that I want to show you, right? As far as Bluetooth, if you want to add something, easy enough, it's all divided up here. Just go to the device list and add a device, right? So you can add up to 6 devices. Very easy to do. Now, I'm going to back out of this screen and go back to these general settings. You want to change the clock? Easy enough to do. You want to get to info, cameras, smartphone? Very easy to access these things, guys. Now, system and vehicle are going to be probably the 2 things that you're going to want to play with the most. Now, under vehicle, this is where you're going to find some different settings as far as, you know, my meter setup, my driving position, door and window lock controls, things of that nature, right? So that's where you're going to play with these items. So let me go ahead and turn the car on here so that we can go over that. All right, so now that we're here in this setup, let's talk about this. So lighting setup, you may want to play that a little bit, but door and window and keyless access are probably going to be the more important 2 that you're going to want to mess with. Under door and window, this is where I can affect things like, hey, when I walk up and you know, I unlock my door, will it unlock the remaining doors, or so forth and so on. So right now the car is set up, when I open the driver's side door, it unlocks all the remaining doors. Sometimes you get that person who takes a while to get all their belongings together and everybody else is fiddling with their doors trying to get them open. You can change those settings here. Now on the other side of that door lock, right, so when I immediately hit 10 miles an hour, It's going to automatically lock all the doors in the car if I haven't already. You can change that setting too, when I move out of park, it locks them. So depending if you have kids or things of that nature, this may be an important change that you want to make inside of this car, right? So understand those couple features. Now at the very bottom, if you scroll a bit, walkaway auto lock, this is a really cool feature that I would highly recommend turning on. If I turn this feature on, what it does is when I get out of the car and I get 10 feet from it, if I have the keys in my pocket or in my possession, it will automatically lock the doors, guys. So if you're one of those people who leaves the keys in the car, maybe you don't want this feature, but know that if you leave the keys regularly in the car, like in your garage, it's not going to lock the doors. But what this is for is the person who gets halfway into the grocery store and can't remember if they locked the door and they left their laptop sitting in the front or their belongings. They're like, crap, I'm not going to feel comfortable until I go check. If you're that person, turn this feature on. It makes a lot of sense and it'll keep your car safer, right? So that's kind of these features that you're seeing right here that I would say you're probably going to play with. Now, the other ones you may want to mess with is going to be your keyless access setup. And this is related to the key fob, right? So like door unlock mode, right now it's set up, it just unlocks the driver's side door. Maybe you want it to where when you touch that driver's side door, it unlocks all the doors so that everyone can get in the car, so that your spouse isn't over there like, will you just unlock my damn door so I can get in? Well, this is how you change that. Let me save you some struggle, right? So there's plenty of these things. If you've never seen one of my tips and tricks videos, I'll actually throw it up there on the screen so that you can click onto that because I go over this and several other things that are going to help you out as far as taking advantage of this car and really using it to your full potential, right? So that's settings. Now, audio-wise, I'm just going to briefly touch about what you have inside of this vehicle. By the source button right here, you're going to have FM, you're going to have AM, you've got those HD radio stations, you got 90 days of Sirius XM satellite radio. If you've got a USB with a bunch of music stored to it, you can plug it in, leave it, and then play that music off of it. Anything with an I/O hookup to this, right? So if you want to plug it in, any device like that, know that you can take advantage of that. Bluetooth, of course, if you're a Pandora user, great, you've got Pandora functionality. If you're a Spotify user, no big deal. Either use the Bluetooth option, or you can use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and have access to all of these things, which is where we're kind of headed next from this. Now, on this Honda Link, I'll just briefly talk about, know that you can connect up. The first time you connect the phone up, it's going to prompt you, say, would you like to set it up? To where in the event that you get in an accident, Honda can call down. If you don't answer, they'll send somebody out for you. 100% free, take advantage of this feature. It's there to protect you and your loved ones. Outside of that, when you get into cars like a touring model like this, know that there are some subscription-based things that you can get and that you get some basic trials too, as far as, controlling the door locks on your from your phone and then starting the car from your phone. So just stuff like that. And then other features like, hey, I want someone that like a concierge I can call and stuff like that. So you can go to HondaLink.com and get more information on that if you would like, related to the specific car you're looking to get and the trim level if it's not this one. Now, outside of that, now I want to talk about Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So I'm going to plug my phone in so that we can get it to connect up here. And then from there, we will go ahead and then hop in and talk about a couple different things. Because I want to talk to you about the basic setup that Android Auto and Apple CarPlay offers. And then I want to talk to you about upgrading that. So now that we've got this connecting up, right? It pulls up and it gives me the basic functionality of Google Maps is what I typically use. And then you can see what the last song I was listening to. If you don't know Chip the Ripper, this song is legit. Just a shout out to that. Now in here, all the different options you have, Spotify, Pandora, anything you want to listen to, audio, books on tape, whatever it is, Amazon, all these different apps that you can download. This is forever changing the list. I use a basic setup functions with Waze and a few different things, but I can access Teams and some of my meetings and reminders and messengers and things of that nature. But understand this list is always changing. So there's lots of things that you can add. Once again, in that tips and tricks video, I go over some shortcuts, some ways to change this, customize it, and different things you can do. Now, what I want to show you about this is that if I'm in this screen, understand that you're gonna have to use everything by voice. I can use the button here or the button off the steering wheel we talked about earlier. What I don't like about that is sometimes I wanna be able to type in a search, right? I don't know the address to it, or I don't know exactly what it's called, and I just wanna type something. You can't do that in this car. It's kind of designed to where when you're driving, you can't do that. And it's for safety. And the same thing when it comes to like Spotify, right? If I wanna search out a song or a group, I have to use the voice command button. That's great and all. I understand the potential and reasoning for it. However, when I do run a search, right? If I search out somebody, it doesn't give me kind of everything that's available to that, right? And don't get me wrong, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, awesome features, but I know that something out there exists that can really help you a little bit more. Now, there's two different versions of this. I made a video explaining exactly what it is, but I'm gonna show you here in just a second. All right, guys, so here we are, and I have the AI CarPlay box plugged in, and now you can see a little bit different display here. Of course, I'm gonna start to have access to, the Play Store, things like Netflix, right? Things like Amazon Prime. So it's gonna allow me to access those additional features. Now, on top of that, I can even do one step further things and do things like, hey, what if I wanna run my GPS and Netflix at the same time? Well, absolutely, you could do that, right? right? This way I could have up my turn-by-turn directions and be listening or watching a show. So very cool that it gives me the ability to do this feature. Now, I've got plenty of things that explains kind of what all this does. I just want you to understand the basics of how this really unlocks your tablet. Outside of that, to my point earlier of using like Spotify and different apps, I want to run a search. Let's say I jump in here, I want to type something in or just select something, right? So let's go Eagles, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter. If I know how to spell, will be even better. So run my search here, select my band so that you can get an understanding for, does this lag, does this work fast, does it work slow? And then I've got all of this, right? I got my most popular songs, I've got the releases, the artists, all the albums, the discography, everything, right? I just love that it gives me all this other info, right? Because this is the way I like to do it. I like to be able to access my lists and be clicking through, or have something opened up like an entire album and be able to select songs as I move through, which you don't really have that option when you're using the other version of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So just understand that this exists. It's out there. I've made an entire video reviewing this. There is this version and a light box. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, you can go with the light version. Check out the video that I threw up there and you can learn a little bit more about this, how it works. And of course, know that I am an affiliate. I can save you a little bit of money if you want to buy it. In the description, I'll throw you the link to access this on their page. And then of course, my affiliate link so that you can save that extra 20 bucks if you're looking to buy. So check that out. All right, guys, so that's all the things about this car that you could really want to understand. So I want to go back through all those reviews with you really quickly, just so you can kind of revisit them and understand and look at them again if you need to. So at the front of the car, we talked about horsepower, 190 horsepower under the hood coming out of that 1.5 liter engine with a CVT transmission. I'm gonna throw that comparison up if you see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market so you understand a horsepower comparison. Now after that, we want to talk about miles per gallon. This car gets 27 in the city and 32 on the highway. So understand how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. I'm gonna throw that up on the screen so you can really see how it lives. And then of course, I'll throw that hybrid up there as well. So you can say, hey, if I'm looking at, you know, a higher gas mileage version of this car, what am I looking at? Now after that, let's move to the front of this car. 41.3 inches of leg space in this car. So I'm gonna throw that comparison up so you see how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. Now after that, let's move into that second row where I want to say it was 40.3 inches. Plenty of room. You're sitting behind a 6-footer who's 250. You got plenty of room back there. But I want you to see that comparison up on the screen so you understand how this car stacks up to other vehicles out there in the market. Now after that, you move into the cargo space of the car. 39.2 cubic feet of space with the seats folded up. So I want you to see that comparison compared to other vehicles out there in the market. And then when you flip that seat down, you're looking at 75.8 cubic feet of all that space using up that second row. So understand how this car stacks up to others with this comparison that I just threw up on the screen as well. Lastly, I want to talk to you about that trim level comparisons. If I take this touring model and I drop down to the EXL model, what am I saving as far as money goes? And then what features am I giving up so I can understand, is it worth it to spend the extra money or not? After you take a look at that, that's pretty much every comparison that we went over. Other than that, I just want to remind you about a couple things. One, if you're looking for car mats, floor mats, know that I've made a couple videos on this. There's ways you can save money, different things you can look at, and understand really what's the difference between them. So understand in the description, there will be that link again to where you can see some of those reviews. Secondarily, the AI car box. Really cool item, guys. I'm waiting for them to send me out the light version so I can review that as well. But what I like about this is it really makes your head unit a tablet. Let's just be honest. It really does make it a tablet. And it's portable, so I can pull this out if I sell the car, if I lease the car, if I want to get into my wife's car, we want to take a road trip, I want to get in a friend's car. I love how portable this is, so I can continue to use it for so forth and so on. Outside of that, I want to thank you for watching. Of course, hit the like button if you like what I'm doing. Please do leave a comment if you feel like I left something out. You have questions about this, questions about formats, questions about the car, questions about a comparison, or a video you would like to see, give me a comment. And then lastly, I hope that you will subscribe to the channel and then of course, share the video. Hey man, if you're in a forum, if you got some friends that are looking, I hope you'll share this with them because you like, one, the way I do it, two, that I kind of talk fast so I can get through all this content, and three, let's just be honest, there's a lot of bad videos out there and I like to think this one's okay. So other than that, like, subscribe, share, all of the things, and I will talk to you soon. Later, guys!